Hello, and thank you for joining me on Duty Found. For this episode, we'll be going into the Aurum Vale. This is the last of the sub-level 50 dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV. So from here on out, things get a lot faster, characters get a lot stronger, and things just tend to go a little bit crazy. So here it is, the last, and probably, in many opinions, one of the hardest low-level dungeons. So here we go. This dungeon is level 47. That means you will sink to level 49, so you don't have access to the level 50 gear or the level 50 abilities. That said, you're able to get away with a lot more because at level 49, people are usually, hopefully, relatively cognizant of what they need to be doing. To take this to another level, this is also a dungeon needed for the Relic quest, one of the last steps to get your Zodiac weapon. As such, you very often have groups of people that are very familiar with this. In this party, in fact, we have a level 50 Bard, a level 50 Paladin, and myself as a healer. So, with just the ninja being our last DPS, we don't have much to worry about. So this should be a pretty good run. You'll notice right away that the arena, or the dungeon, seems pretty dangerous. Lots of yellow pools that when you stand in them will give you a debuff that will tick for quite a lot of damage. There are lots of mobs. In fact, if you just run right into the center of that room there, you are likely to get multiple groups of adds. So it's very easy to get wiped very quickly in this dungeon. Check and see what I've got as far as abilities since last you've seen. I know last time I wasn't on White Mage, so we didn't see all of the abilities there, but I do now have Arrow 2, which rounds out the White Mage's DPS rotation. Typically I'll switch into Cleric stance, throw an Arrow 2, throw an Arrow 1, and pop Fluid Aura on mobs that won't be pushed away to maximize damage real quick. And then I'll switch back, so I have plenty of time to get back in action. And one of the most exciting things White Mage can do is we have Holy now. Holy is a very high potency, 200 potency AoE to all enemies nearby. It's an AoE centered around the White Mage rather than centered around a target. And it adds a stun effect. So it's a very long cast time. However, once it goes off, you get the additional stun, and you can really chain it out and throw out a lot of damage. White Mage is actually, while a healer, one of the most potent AoE DPS in the game when accuracy is not a concern. Now these lilies, as in previous dungeons and previous incarnations, are ranged attackers, so they won't come right up to you. You have to bait them out and take care of things that way. Now it is possible to sack pull this room. As you saw in our last episode, you can sacrifice pull where the tank collects all the mobs and runs off to die in a corner while the party runs to a safe spot beyond detection. You can sack pull directly to the first boss here. However, this room is really good for XP, so a lot of times you'll want to kill everything when you've got someone that's not level 50 in your party, as our ninja here. We're actually going to start throwing some holies here, because why not? A good way to start off is a swift cast holy to get you right into the rotation. And then a couple more. out of that AoE, switch off cleric stance, and heal the tank right back up. You gotta be careful. It's very easy to take hate while you're holy spamming. It's high damage. In addition, that extra stun effect does produce more enmity. So I tend to find myself tanking quite a bit once I start doing a sort of really dedicated holy spam AoE. It looks like we're not quite taking a full pull, or a full clear of this first room. There are 2 mobs here, so typically AoEs aren't really all that efficient when you're dealing with just a couple mobs. However, Holy is a notable exception. Because of the stun effect, it actually is very efficient. It will effectively make your tank invulnerable for as many as 5 seconds. It does have diminishing returns. The first stun is going to be 4 seconds long, the second will be for 2 seconds, and the last is going to be for about 1. Realistically, with overlap and such, that you'll very rarely get the full effect of those, but it is good to note that while you're holding, as soon as you get that first one off, you can get a second off pretty much without needing to worry about your tank taking any damage. Let's take a look at the traits we've had since. Overcure here is an augment to Cure 2 that gives a chance for your next Cure 3 to cost half MP. Back when this was released, this ability actually, instead of augmenting the cost of Cure 3, made it a guaranteed crit. So it would be a lot of heals going out really quickly. With that said, however, Cure 3 just cost far too much, and it was very rarely used, so they changed the ability, and it really makes it a little bit more efficient. Now this boss is actually kind of fun. It's rather difficult for new healers. The boss is going to apply a raid-wide debuff that is going to be a constant DOT effect. That effect will stack, and it will get quite out of hand very quickly. The only way to remove this debuff is to eat these marble fruits. So typically, it depends on the group, but you'll go for between either 2 or 3 stacks of when you'll want to cleanse that debuff off. So it's very important here that you've got AoE heals on point. As such, your placement is very important. I like to stand right behind the boss when we're doing this, so that I can throw a medica like this. It is centered around me rather than centered around any target, so I'm able to hit myself, the tank, and the ninja here all at the same time. You see the bard has actually already cleansed. And I'm going to go ahead and head over to cleanse now. I have 3, so I'll hit that marble fruit, run back, drop a quick Cure 2 off on the tank. The ninja is going all sorts of different ways. Probably was trying to get the fruit that I took. The Medica 1 has a relatively short range, but I can still hit the bard when they're standing close enough there. One thing that's really nice about Arrow and Fluid Aura is they don't have cast times, so you are able to throw it out while you're running. So while you're relocating, if you happen to have Cleric Stance on, or even if you don't, it's okay to just throw that out there, because you're not really doing anything else at the time. Throw out a regular Medica here. could limit break whenever. Hopefully the ninja realizes that, so we don't need to worry about it. We're actually doing pretty okay here as far as the damage on the boss. So we're probably just going to take the boss out before we even need to worry about it. There we go. And that is the first boss. This can be a real stopping block if your healer's inexperienced or if your tank has troubles with positioning. That boss has a frontal cleave, so if you're having issues there, it is quite possible that you're hitting the party and just causing wipes in general. Now this area is quite interesting. When you're leveling up, it is a great, absolutely amazing place to get some quick XP. Because all you need to do, these marble fruits here, when someone gets on their hate table, whether it be in target range or whatever, they'll start to use an ability called Germinate. When that ability goes off, another of these marble seedlings will pop, and they'll be able to be killed as the regular mobs. The marble seedlings are very weak. Very, very weak. So they're worth full XP for a regular mob, while the fruit are worth barely any XP whatsoever. So when you're leveling up, it's really considerate to just let the fruit hatch. I'm actually going to say that to the tank. Well, I say that, but the ninja goes ahead and kills the fruit on her own, so she may not care too much about leveling. Marbles, I don't know if you've encountered before, have a very nasty attack called Bad Breath. It is a very wide frontal cone that will apply a whole slew of nasty debuffs to anyone that manages to get hit. There it is. Pretty easy to dodge, but if you're not in close to the mob, it can be hard because it's such a wide range. Now we're actually already almost to the second boss. This is a relatively short dungeon. You just need to make sure things don't get out of hand. Small pack here, another there that is easily dodgeable. There's a pack of 2 Dire Mites and a Bane Mite there. Let's go ahead and pop Presence of Mind with Holy here, so we can get a couple out really quick. Switch back to my normal healing stance and heal up the tank. Pop Shroud of Saints, so I shed half of that hate I managed to accrue there. And then this, as you get into higher dungeons, becomes more and more important. Being able to effectively dance between cleric stance and off. It really lets you maximize your potential. Packs of mobs go down much faster when you're helping to damage, as well as being able to switch out when the time is right so that you can keep the tank going. Stone skin on the tank. No, we don't need it just yet. There is a mob still left, but it should go down. There we go. We still got it. So it'll buy us a couple seconds when we start the next pull, where the tank's not taking damage, so we can get out a quick swift cast Holy, a regular Holy after that while they're stunned, and you know what, let's go ahead and get a third out. Switch back. The tank was able to get hate back, that's great. So we'll switch back to healing, throw a regen on the tank, cure, and settle in. This next boss can actually be very challenging for ranged classes. Most ranged classes, be it casters, healers, bards, tend to fight from well away in the seeming safety of distance from mobs. However, this next boss has a lot of cleaves, and he's going to randomly target a party member. And so he's going to turn around quite a lot and do a conal AoE. In one case, it's a full frontal AoE. It's very nearly 180 degrees. So in order to counter that, I tend to stand very close to the boss, so that when it turns, I can just run straight through him to break the line of sight. That works very well for melee DPS as they're already there. It works well for tanks since they're always there. It's just counterintuitive for healers to do that and for ranged DPS. Additionally, there are two different sort of moves the boss uses. He has a swipe, which he's going to swipe with his club at a frontal AoE, and he's going to swing, which is in a circular AoE around the boss. The swing is actually going to hurt quite a lot. That will one-shot most players. The tank did not dodge that frontal AoE, so that is hopefully not indicative of... Well, that's lovely. Alright, so that was Glower. That is the random targeted AoE, random targeted conal AoE the boss is going to throw. That was Swipe. That's the frontal cone that he won't randomly target. He's just going to aim at the tank. So there's the Glower. He's able to get away just like that. The tank dodged into that. See there, it takes a moment to consider. It's going to be a full hate reset, as well as he'll follow it up with an Eye of the Beholder, the very wide 180 degree cone that also adds a nasty DOT effect. There's Swing, that's the AoE that you need to avoid, and that ninja is toast. Yep. Glower again. So that's going to hit them. Oh, Bard was able to get away from that. So that's less of a cone and more of a straight line, but it is a rather wide line. So it is still very dangerous. It's swiped from the cone. It's potent damage, a lot of knock and a knock back there. So the tank really should be trying to dodge that, but so be it. Now, this boss can be stunned, however, it is rather dangerous to stun willy-nilly, as there are some rather nasty abilities, and a lot of times DPS will have stun in part of the rotation, so it's a lot of times just not going to happen. It's better to just dodge. There's the swipe again. The tank's just going to eat those, that's okay, whatever. Just raise out on the ninja now that I've got Swift Cast back up. Glower again. Looks like, yeah, Bard's pretty good about dodging that. That's handy. Here's a swipe. Frontal cone AoE. Swing. Very wide AoE. There we go. Everybody got out of that time. Glower. Frontal swipe. And there we go. Much like the first boss, this fight is pretty heavily dependent on your healers there, as well as just in general being able to dodge. This room can be split into several poles. There are wandering ghosts that can join in. There's those dire mites. There's wasps. So being able to effectively grab poles and grab packs that aren't going to link together can be really handy. The ninja is attacking different mobs from the tank, and the tank is not really maintaining effective AoE threat. So it's a bit of a either miscommunication or just ninjas not really paying attention. Taking a lot more damage than they need to be. There we go. So those two taken care of, and moving on to the next match. Tank is going to pull these back so that they won't be joined by those ghosts that are wandering around. Did get a couple flashes off, so they have some hate. Ninja's still taking some damage there. Ninja has threat on one of the dire mites. Okay, we've got the ghost here, the poison peasant. As with all ghosts, this is a ranged attacker, so when it decides to stop the cast, it will determine its range. This tank is really just not very good at dodging things. Hopefully, there we go, the stun on the holy lasted just long enough for me to get that heal off. It is a danger of using cleric stance. You do get locked into that stance for the 5-second cooldown. You're not able to turn it back off right away. So it can be a little bit of a squeaker sometimes. Actually already nearly to the end of this dungeon. As Ed mentioned, it is a relatively short dungeon. There is just one floor, one path to follow. So this is a relatively simply designed. The challenge in this dungeon is more the bosses and just the general potency of the individual mobs. rather than the design of the dungeon itself. Okay, so we're going to have quite a few of these fruits hatching, which is good for the ninja. You might see someone level up today. So as they run in, I'm going to switch Cleric Stance, pop a Swift Cast, and throw some holies. See how fast we can get these seedlings down. There we go. As before, you need to watch out for bad breath from the marbles. Now, since no one's really running over there, I'm just going to go ahead and tag each of these once, get them started on that germinate. I would much rather fight several of them at once rather than waiting for a bunch of them to spawn all the time. There we go. Gold vine and several more back there. You do need to kill both of the gold vines in order to open the path to the next part of the dungeon here. The nice thing with these gold vines is you can't kick them back with Ludar, so it's okay to stick it into your regular rotation. Get some extra damage in. No MP cost, no cooldown, just throw it out there. Nope. It's up the path with both the gold vines down. There's the 3 seedlings there to finish out this room, and there's a treasure chest here. I believe this one often contains a ring. Yep. Okay, and that's that. So we'll go ahead and move on. There is one room remaining before the boss. Now this is an unavoidably big pull. There are 2 Bane Mites and 2 Dire Mites. To start with a holy, to stun these for a bit, and as I have presence of mind up, I'm going to throw a couple holies. That's going to be about the limit of the chicken I can play DPS and switch back to healing stance. Pop my shroud there to get some of the MP back. Holy is very expensive, as well as to manage my hate, as again, holy makes quite a bit of enmity. room actually can be sackable, as earlier, so you can, if you don't care to bother with it, sack this and go straight to the boss. A lot of dungeon a lot of times if you're running this dungeon for the purpose of your relic, you'll have to run it quite a few times, depending on your luck of the drops. So if you've got a group of 4 people that are in it for the relic, they'll be much more keen to go for the speed runs. You get a lot of sack pulls, a lot of large pulls. And this is actually one of the last times that you'll see an active use of sack pulls. From the point of hitting level 50, players' individual power skyrockets, especially considering the gear levels. That being the case, you get very few actual sack pull situations. Instead, you'll just get situations where you'll pull just about everything all at once, kill them all at the same time, rather than to save the time between pulls. AoE damage is typically far more efficient, especially when you have many targets. Now this boss is a little bit of a blend of the first boss and the marbles that we fought earlier. He will apply stacks she will apply stacks to the party. These stacks won't be a DOT effect, however, when the boss uses a certain ability, it will deal damage to everyone in the party based on the number of stacks they have. That can get out of hand very quickly. There we go. Burburo is going to apply the debuff to everyone and deal damage based on the number of stacks you have. It will randomly target someone for a hooked burr, so one person will get an additional stack. That Vine Probe move is a non-channeled frontal AoE, so it is possible to dodge, however it's very fast. You almost have to be anticipating it. Here's the Burburo, it's going to hit everyone. And as I have 3 stacks, I'm going to go ahead and take a fruit. It's going to use Bad Breath, as the marbles we've encountered before did. Now at this point, the boss is going to run off and use Sow. Sow is going to place a set of marble fruit that need to be taken care of before they hatch. These seedlings don't behave the same way as the seedlings we've already encountered do. These actually are quite dangerous. They, with their auto attacks, will give you additional stacks of the burrs, or burr debuff. So you can very, very quickly take unhealable amounts of damage. Bard's keeping an eye out for my MP pool there. But I'm actually doing okay on MP, so I'm going to throw some damage out. Here we go, it's using Sow again. Let it finish its Sow, and then I'm going to start. Oh my. This could be troublesome. There we go, I was able to get that heal off. I was a little bit too far forward there trying to get my holy to hit all of the seeds. It's the main drawback of having your AoE centered around you rather than centered around the target, is just the fact that you're in the line of fire. But a little bit more damage, and there we go. This does it for Aurum Vale. Alright, thank you once again for joining me on Duty Found. This has been the Aurum Vale, the last low-level dungeon of Final Fantasy XIV. As such, from here on out, things are going to get much faster, much more intense, and just in general, a little bit more fun. The average dungeon time drops down from the half hour that many of my videos have been to, shoot, back in the day we used to get speedruns of Wanderer's Palace done in around 8 minutes. So, we should be looking at a very increased pace here, but as always, that is for next time. Alright, thanks again for joining me, and everybody, have a good night.